So the first question is why upgrade? There's a lot of different reasons for that. These are just a couple of them. The first one is IBM support. As most of you probably know, IBM is ending support for the 7.6.0 series of Maximo products in September of this year. So if you're not already in a 7.6.1 release, then you'll need to upgrade to that before September, or you're going to find yourself in a position that you're not going to have support, or you're going to have to pay for the premium support, which I understand can be quite expensive. Another reason would be product fixes. IBM only releases product fixes on current versions. So once your version goes out of support, you're not going to have access to those. And even on some of the more current product fixes, if you're on a little bit older version, you've got to get limited availability fixes or things like that. So it's always good to stay current just to make sure that you can get the most recent versions of the Maximo product line available to you. Another big one is security. If you're not already on the email distribution list, you probably want to be on it. There's a security vulnerability list that IBM publishes. And even just recently, there was a vulnerability that was announced around some of the Java deserialization. And the fixes for that started with version 7.6.0.10. So we had quite a few clients that were on 7.6.08 or 09 that had to request limited availability fixes just to address that vulnerability. So staying current is important to make sure that you can keep your Maximo environment secure. Currency is another one, and by currency, I don't mean money. I mean currency with things like your application servers, your database servers, operating systems, things like that. So sometimes if you end up on an older version of Maximo, it doesn't support the latest versions of some of those other ancillary products. We've had some clients that have wanted to do Oracle upgrades on their database, and they couldn't because their Maximo version was too old. So it's important to stay current just to make sure that you can keep your supporting products up to date as well. And then the last reason, and probably one of the biggest, is just the feature updates. IBM is constantly releasing new features, new functions, new business processes. They're very open to the Maximo community, providing feedback, putting in requests for enhancements, always updating the product. And in order to get some of those product updates, you do need to be on a current release of Maximo overall. So we want to make sure that folks are on for that. The 7.6.1.2 release, which was the current one, has some great new scheduler features in it that you might be interested in. There's some updates to the Inventory Work Center, which we're going to talk about in another coffee chat here in a few weeks. And then some really great just general user functionality. The asset drill down is changed. If you haven't seen the new drill down, you got to take a look at that. You're going to love that. And then my favorite, if you do a lot of attached documents, you now have the ability to attach multiple documents in a single action rather than having to do them one at a time. And I think that's going to be a big time saver for some of our clients that do use a lot of attachments. So those are just some of the reasons that you might want to upgrade. Amy, any you want to add to that?
That sounds like a great list. I personally attach documents a lot, so I didn't realize that was in there. I'm excited to know that we can attach multiple documents now. I do have a lot of clients, though, who have a lot of time and money invested in their current environment, and they ask you, they're concerned about, is it going to be cost prohibitive or time? Is it going to take up too much time? And then not only do some of them have just, base Maximo, but they've got industry solutions like utilities or HSE or add-ons like Scheduler. A lot of them have a lot of, several configurations. They have cloned applications. So if they have all these things in the works, should those clients still upgrade? And as our webinar topic implies, can they still upgrade by the end of the year with all those different things in the mix?
Yeah, to answer your first question, absolutely. Definitely you should still upgrade. There's just so many new features, so many improvements in 7.6.1.2 that it's definitely worth making the move. And of course, with the end of support on 7.6.0 looming, if you are still, if any of them are back on that version, and I know some of them are, and we've got some clients that are even on earlier versions than 7.6.0 something, just to keep on that current release and keep the support, it's worth upgrading. And I think some people may find, I don't know the exact numbers on that premium support, but I have a feeling for a lot of folks, the upgrade may be less costly than the premium support might be. So that's a factor to consider as well. As far as the clients with the add-ons and the configurations, I know that puts people in a position where the upgrade costs can be high. That's only going to get worse the longer you wait. The further you get back in versions, the more, I'll say, hoops that you have to jump through. If you're on a 7.5, you've got to go to 7.6.0, 11 or something, and then go to 7.6.1. So the further behind you get, the more steps they are. So it's definitely cost effective in the long run to stay current. So upgrading does need to be done. And it doesn't have to be as expensive as you might think. Small incremental jumps are definitely more cost effective than waiting for a long time to upgrade. And then, just planning your upgrade and figuring out what you can and can't support and do is important as well. And I think we're going to talk about that more in a few minutes.